Hey everyone, welcome to Where Are Your Cleats with Robb and Steve. This is our new podcast where we discuss more specifically youth baseball, and because basically the way we've thought about it, we've talked to some people, and our friend JP put it best, where he said youth baseball has never been better and parents have never been worse. So we're here to discuss all things baseball related, whether it be travel, little league, all the world of youth baseball. And we have got a guest today, which is awesome. It's our first time having a guest. And it's also a special episode because this is probably the only time where we will, not the only time, but one of the only times we're going to be together
it's rare.
in the studio because we live on separate coasts, Rob and I. So most of this is going to be probably via Zoom.
Yeah, long distance.
So, but this is nice because we get to sit together, and I think this is good. This is like I like doing it. But we're excited about being able to be together. Our kids got to hang and play together this weekend, which is good for us specifically because we came from the East Coast. Tons of rain, tons of snow. We've had not great weather, and so we've been indoors since probably Halloween.
Oh, wow.
Everything's like, they got nice facilities inside, and, everyone's working hard with T-work and pitching mechanics, and everything's mechanics. But to get out on a field, on grass, on dirt, to be able to just, watch a ball actually fly and not hit a net, that was cool.
And for the boys who played together for a couple seasons of Little League and then you guys moved away, it was awesome for them.
Yeah.
My son was super excited to catch Jonah and was talking about how great he pitched all weekend and how much fun it was to catch him. So for them, I think it was a neat experience too.
It is. It's because it's like it's almost time capsules where every year now we kind of get together and you kind of, everyone, even the other kids that were on our team, that Monarchs team that we had, they played with us too. So getting to watch them, like I said, I was like, oh, he's still slick. He still throws like that. So it's really fun to watch everyone kind of grow, and even their personalities over the the course of the year. It's awesome, and then the parents and stuff getting to hang out and see some of them. Was nice.
It's interesting too because you have a unique perspective because you don't see these guys as much anymore. And since I'm still coaching some of them, I see them multiple times a week, and so I don't really have the ability to see the immense growth that they've had as not only players, but kids and stuff. And I mean, here, these two guys were 8 years old and now, some of the guys on the team are 12. These two guys are 11. So it's fun to think about how far they've come.
And live BP and live pitching and live hitting. I don't know if you guys have done any of that stuff yet. I mean, I know you just started practicing.
Yeah, a little bit.
I don't think Jonah's seen a ball thrown at him from a kid since, couple, we did a little small tournament around the Christmas time, but that stuff is like, you can't replicate that. That's awesome. So being able to do that and have those, the hours put in of just being able to like them playing catch and stuff like that, it was great.
Right.
So we're excited to be able to, to hang and have families get together. But of course, baseball, we still snuck in some time. We went to a UCLA Gonzaga, right? Yeah, Friday night. Sorry. And it was a good game. Actually, Gonzaga was up for most of the game.
It was back and forth, and then UCLA ended up taking the lead in the 8th and hanging on to win. But it was fun too because I don't know about Joe, but for Jack, we watch videos of these perfect game tournaments and these elite high school guys, and we'd actually seen a couple of them on YouTube, and then he got to watch him in person. And we're like, that kid was the number one 2023 player in his class. And there was a guy you could follow a day in his life at UCLA and his training and his practicing. And that guy, Cameron Kim, ended up coming up with a pinch hit, his first college at bat, to give UCLA the lead, and they ended up hanging on to win. So that was a cool experience.
I think for the boys, it was exciting for them to see obviously the level of play is not pro, but really, really good, top notch. Really good, obvious Division I, and that close to be able to be that close, and then because they're not, they're they look like kids. To me now they do.
Right.
So I think the boys see like themselves like, oh, that's not that far away. That could be, that's going to be me in a couple years.
6
First
years
pitch of
away.
the game, Gonzaga hits a home run off of, and everyone goes crazy. And he comes, and we were sitting right behind the dugout.
Yeah.
So like this kid's walking right in, high fiving, and I could see the hair on the back of the boy's neck stand up. They were like, "This is sick.
Yeah.
This is what you live for." Like, these guys are having. This is baseball.
They were watching, leaning forward, elbows on knees,
Yeah.
and every guy that came in, they were like, "This guy throws fast. This guy throws hard." Yeah.
And there does seem to be a prototypical type. First of all, what really surprised me the most was how many players are on the team.
Right.
There had to be at least 40 guys on each one of these teams.
I think there was 40 guys on the roster,
right?
yeah.
I mean, warming up, it looked like, I was like, oh, this is like they could play 2 or 3 different teams, field different teams here.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that was surprising to me. I was like, oh, man, there's a lot of, I thought it was going to be like a 25-man roster.
Yeah.
About 40 kids. And it seemed to be, I don't know, was this, I think it might have been the first weekend of the season.
This was the opener for college baseball. Yeah, this weekend.
So it seems that I guess they want to see as many players as they could because there were a lot of pitching changes.
Yeah.
And then whenever Gonzaga would change, the Bruins always went.
They matched up.
They would just sub the next 3 guys in. If it was they brought in a righty, they'd put 3 lefties right down there.
Yeah.
So you got to see a lot of different kids. And I think that, I don't know if that's normal or if that's beginning of the season stuff, or it's almost like they're treating this like spring training.
Yeah, I think we actually talked to somebody who has a connection to UCLA baseball, and they said they wanted to try I guess they don't call him the offensive coordinator for baseball, but there was the third base coach was clearly making the decisions as far as how to match up.
Yeah.
And he was making changes, and they were like, they really want to do that in the beginning of the year. They want to see as many guys as possible. And it's funny because, we've talked previously about how, we want to give guys responsibilities and jobs even when they're, 11 and 12 years old in Little League baseball. And then here they're like, no, they make a pitching change. We match up. You might have only gotten 1 or 2 at bats this game. Sorry, we're going to substitute for you. So It's interesting to see how many guys they tried to work into the game.
I mean, there had to be 25 different guys play on the Bruins. I mean,
I think the Bruins had used
between
at
pitchers,
least 6 pinch hitters. So then you're at 15 because they had a DH, and I think they had 4 or 5 guys pitch. Yeah, 20 guys on their team and probably 18 on Gonzaga. I think they made 4 pitching changes too, and they pinch hit a couple times.
The other thing the kids love to see is because, Jonah has done a couple perfect game things, but there's no scouts. There's never any scouts at these. Like, I'm sure at the levels, obviously in the upper levels are scouts, but he's only heard about what scouts are. But at the Bruins game, there were scouts. They sit right behind home plate, and it's almost like watching birds migrate back and forth.
Right.
The pitcher comes to a set, the gun goes up, right? The pitch goes, boom, the gun goes down, they go to their notebook.
Everyone
it's like
makes
this,
a note.
and then boom. And the guns go up at the same time. It's like insane. And that they were like, whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, Jonah was like, that's where they sit, that's what they look like, that's what they do.
Yep, windbreakers, baseball hats, like they know what they look like. We went to the area code games a couple weeks ago, which is they can't take obviously everybody, but it's mostly guys from the top 200 high school players in America. It was supposed to be at Dodger Stadium, but because of rain, they moved it to Loyola Marymount. We drove all the way out there, and a couple of Jack's buddies from his travel team came. And that's a big event because it's not just area scouts, it's, cross checkers and guys from the scouting department. So there was way more people from Major League Baseball than there was parents, friends, family. And we ended up sitting by some scouts, and so they thought that was cool, and they kind of kept looking over like, what's that guy writing? What's he writing down? And they were.
I would have been. Thank God we did not choose to sit over there.
Yeah,
because I would have like a kid that didn't cheating in high school. I would have been like just staring at these guys, what they were writing down, what they were looking at.
What are you noting right now?
And I would have been like, I would have bought one of those radar guns.
Yeah,
like that to me now is like I'm probably just going to go around different baseball locations and just
pocket radar everybody.
Is it against the law?
No, I don't think so.
I mean, I'm sure I will be confronted.
Yeah.
And I will be possibly asked to leave. But it's cool, dude. And everyone perks up when there's a scout around.
Confronted for
or they
what?
think there's a scout
They're going
around.
to come up to you and go, "What's my son sitting at right now?" And you'll be like, 47.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm getting one of those guns.
Yeah.
You had a different experience this weekend. You got to sit stand, whatever, next to me and watch the kids play because you are usually coaching.
Oh.
And so they had a little scrimmage. A friend of ours had a scrimmage that they needed some players for. That's how the boys got to get together and play. And I didn't realize there would be an umpire, but there was an umpire there.
Yeah.
And, I've sort of, again, gone into I've tested the waters with umpires. When we coached together, I infamously was tossed from a game one time because, I'm built to be a third base coach. I'm a gambler, right?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to hear me, but I will mumble under my breath. In this specific instance, we were in a close game. We had a man on third. There was a close play at first base. I sent the man from third home, and he slid home. There was a play at the plate. He was safe. There was really no issue at all until the other team yelled out that he didn't touch the plate, and the umpire then called the kid out and said he didn't touch the plate. And I came down the line and I said, "I don't think you saw that. I think you were looking at the first base, which is where you're supposed to look. The play was at first base." Right. I aggressively sent the kid and thinking he would try to tie the game up. So, he wasn't even going to listen to me. And then so I laid on it a little more, and then he tossed me. And then I said he was horrible, but there was no cursing and nothing about, but I don't think people had seen someone get tossed in a while. And it was exciting for no one.
Right.
It was, people were a little upset. And I went, I was like, I don't embarrass that easily. So I went to my car, and it was during COVID time. So I put on a different mask, and I tried to pull the whole Bobby Valentine
bucket hat. I think you
put
on a sweatshirt.
And if I had a mustache, I would have put it on. And I went back and just kind of watched from the side. Now, did we check the game changer and see that he was safe? Yes, the boy was safe, and everyone knows it. And I wanted to wear a T-shirt the next game to show, with the picture of him sliding in, right, proving to everyone that he was safe.
He was safe.
Again, going back to my original point, that's where I started with umpires, and I realized this is not for me. I don't have the gift of being able to just hold on to my tongue. You know what I'm saying? If I think it, sometimes it just falls right out. Now going to being just a person that sits. I've done it for a couple years now.
And you're really good at it. I was impressed.
And it's taken time.
Yeah.
Because I've been the guy that will, and it's more specifically, especially when it's your kid. Jonah got a ball called on him. Maybe it was a year ago. And that wasn't last year, a year and a half ago. And it was the first year that they started really doing the balk stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so, it was an umpire that was there probably a tournament all day long. And the other team maybe had balked a couple times, but he called it on Jonah. And I for that just was, I was like that. And I go, "Oh, that you saw."
Yeah.
And so I'm close enough in these things that he just turns, lifts the mask up. He goes, "Not today." And I go, "Got it." And that, so that was my run-in as a spectator, 100% spectator. So now I literally, before the game, will just do the thing where I get into the deep breath, zen.
Stoic,
now, this is when Jonah's not pitching. Now, if Jonah is pitching, I have now made the move where I'm very calm because there's a lot of people, I don't know how you feel, but I see the parents, they're worried about the child's performance. I don't necessarily worry about Jonah's performance. Right. I worry about the other things that go on, the umpire squeezing, the other team picking off signs, errors in the field, things the things that he can't control. Those are the things that I'm like. So I used to, kind of mumble to myself, but now, because of the wonderful technologies that we are given to us, that there's high casts and game changers
Yeah.
and people that film everything from every angle, I'll go back and I can hear myself in the. So now I go out to the outfield.
Yeah.
Where I stand alone, like a lone wolf.
Right.
Right. Only when he's pitching, when they're in the field. Then for hitting, I come back.
Sure.
Sit down, talk to the parents, hang out, and then back out during the. Because then out there, I can say whatever I want. It's just me and the left fielder. Who knows what's going on? He knows where the weaknesses are. So I'm not telling him anything he doesn't know.
Right.
So that's how I deal with it. I could see this was a new thing for you. It was
terrible for me. And there's probably been, I would say in the past 2 or 3 years, 5 or 6 games that Jack's played in that I haven't coached, and whatever, a team needed a player and he goes and fills in at a tournament or, whatever. I cannot just stand on the you were at the third base dugout where our friend Jens was coaching his team, and you leaned on the rail almost the entire game and said virtually nothing.
I ate edibles before we went.
Did you?
So,
okay.
Yeah. I mean, that also helps you land the plane a little bit too. You become way less aggressive.
Yeah. I couldn't
when you're
stand
like
still.
10 milligrams coursing through your veins. And it's easier, dude.
Yeah.
No one is going to judge you.
Yeah.
If you just sit there and smile and say, everyone's having fun today. Come on, guys. Look at us. We're outside.
Yeah.
We're not in a cage.
And
I know.
I was chirping. Not at the umpire, but I was chirping at Jack. Like, Jack's behind the plate. And again, I said this before the game. I go, hey, you guys got nothing to worry about. This is a Saturday in February. You're not on either of these teams. Just have fun.
But did you tell yourself?
No, I didn't. And immediately pitch 5. I go, hey, you got to body that up. You got to move. You got to work for your pitcher. And he's looking at me like, yeah, I'm not even on this team. What's your And I don't
even know the pitcher's name, Dad.
I'm walking from third base to first base because my wife was sitting with friends over there. And so I'm going to talk to her, and she's like, are you okay? And I was like, I don't think I am. I don't think I'm okay. She's like, well, figure it out, but I eventually I was able to calm down a little bit and just relax and enjoy it. But if you're not used to watching the game that way, because I've coached every team he's been on since T-ball. So this is 7 years of being, there's only 1 year I haven't been the head coach. And so I'm just used to being in the third base dugout, trying to manage, 12 kids, trying to figure out who's going to play next. And when I don't have to play the game ahead in my mind, it's too easy for me to pick on every little thing that's happening in that moment. And I think maybe I do prefer just being in the dugout.
You might need an edible too. If you're a sponsor out there, a weed sponsor, we'll take low dosage edibles as compensation. Yeah. I'm telling you. I'm not saying recommended for everyone, and honestly, I didn't. But I'm just saying it's a good idea.
I'm sure there's people that it would benefit. And that's how you do it,
because it's like there's no sense getting crazy. I literally, dude, it's therapy. I'm an idiot. I am not a smart person, but I have banged my head up against the wall, and it's different when you because I told you, when I got thrown out of the game, the first thing that Jonas said to me was, "Don't ever do that again."
Yeah. And he was
that was embarrassing.
And he was right.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's like, I got to learn, dude.
Yeah.
This is not a them issue. This is a me issue. Umpires, I'll put it to you like this. Umpires are like diner waitresses. They aren't the best. Okay? You're not going to Luger's or
right.
Where you're going to get a guy with a white jacket that's been doing it for 30 years. Yeah. That makes his living off of this because he's a master at giving a meal to people and making them feel welcome.
Right.
These are diner waitresses.
Yeah.
They're the only ones that want to do it.
Yeah.
They've seen it all, and they've seen stuff that you can't even imagine.
Right.
And they have it has zero effect on them.
Yeah.
So that's what it is. It's like can I get the open turkey sandwich medium rare? They're like, what? Did you swallow it? Here's the check. That's what you're getting, dude. And it's not better anywhere else. Maybe I'm wrong, but I've never run into, and I've been all over the country doing stuff. I have never run into a person that's been like, our umpires, Flawless.
The best.
The best.
The best in America.
We hang out. We eat with them after the games.
Yeah.
We both teams. At the end of the game, we lift the umpire up. Who's the winner? This guy.
At the end of the year, we get them a Dick's Sporting Goods gift card.
So I'm just saying, dude, we are a work in progress, but that's a difficult transition to make.
I think the thing about it is that, we're still talking about that game. That game was 3 years ago. He hasn't thought about you since.
No.
You're not even a blip on. By the way,
No.
The next weekend, some other dad said something to him. I'm sure.
Yeah.
You can only assume.
Probably that was an early game. He probably had
somebody at 7:00 that night.
Yeah.
Do the same thing.
Yep. We'll have an umpire on at some point.
We will.
Guys.
Yeah.
We'll
be
my
fair and
wife's
balanced.
family member is like a little league umpire in our town.
Yeah.
And so maybe he'll come on. We'll get an umpire on because again, we're people. Everyone is no one is making money.
Yeah.
I mean, the umpire. That's the one thing I did say. I said, "You're the only one here making money."
That's right.
When I got kicked out, this was. I did say, "You're the only one here making money," and you act like you're the only one that doesn't want to be here. That happens sometimes, but these are truths. Am I not allowed to say the obvious?
No, I've said to guys before. I said, I realize you're out here by yourself, but not every close call can go their way. If you're going to tell me I can't see it, I get it. You're 110 feet away from second base on a steal or a pickoff. You're behind the plate. You can't see it. You're working your third game. I get it. But you got to give us one of the three calls.
I know. All right. I don't want to keep our guests waiting too long.
Yeah. Is Case logged in? Maybe
I could go off on umpire. I mean, again, I don't want to go off. There's nothing to go off on. They're human beings. They're diner waitresses. They're doing the best they can. They're not in fear of losing their job. Let's put it that way.
I would
They're
say
like Supreme Court justices.
Maybe don't call them a diner waitress to their face.
I think it's a very accurate analogy. And I don't think either party would honestly get upset.
I'm trying to think of what maybe
diner waitresses know where they stand.
Maybe they don't want to be called umpires.
Field bosses?
Yeah.
That sounds bad.
No, I meant the diner waitresses. The diner waitresses.
I don't know if anyone
want
to be called a field boss either. Look, here's the deal. No one wants to do this job. Okay?
Yeah.
If umpires had pretty feet, they'd be on OnlyFans. Do you understand? They wouldn't be doing this either. So we understand. Everyone has to know what we're dealing with here.
Right.
Dealing in reality. So
right. They probably don't want to get up at 8:00 on a Saturday so that they can be berated by a guy who played junior varsity baseball.
Yeah. All right. I'll let you set up our guest.
Joining us today he's from Santa Rosa, California, FBK1, Kasey Olenberger. And Kasey and I grew up playing baseball against each other. We played high school against each other. The 1 year I played JV, Kasey would go on to set records at Pioneer High School. Kasey, you can correct me if I'm wrong. Do you still have the single season home run record at the Santa Rosa JC?
No, I didn't have that.
Get him
Lane?
off.
Hey, Lane, I'm done. I'll talk to you guys later. See ya.
But then went on from
that was Jay Lane.
That was Jay Lane?
Yeah, go ahead.
And then you went on to Long Beach State, 2 or 3 seasons at Long Beach State. 2, and then out of independent ball, you get signed by Florida or
no Angels.
Angels, okay. But you did play in the Marlins organization at 1.2, right?
Yeah, so I signed indie ball, and then I actually went to Taiwan in between, played there in their professional league, and then Italy. Now, when I came back from Italy is when I signed with the Angels in 2004 and played 5 through 8 with them.
Excellent.
And then you played in the Olympics or the WBC?
Both. I played in the 4 Olympics in Greece with Team Italy, and then the WBC in 06 and 09 with Italy.
Okay. And so you come back to Santa Rosa, you start working with youth baseball players, and now FPK1 is, I mean, it's known in Sonoma County. You have great coaches, you have all the way from youth to high school players, you have guys going on to college. So what inspired you to start working with youth baseball players?
I had a sales job and it sucked.
Yeah.
So I started doing this nights and weekends, and it kind of just took off, dude. I didn't think I was going to do, I didn't really want to coach. When I was still playing, I was like, nah, it's not me. I'm going to get a job. And try to get out of debt from playing professional baseball in the minors for so long.
Yeah.
And then kind of just evolved, kind of met some people here and there. And I think I started doing some lessons, but then somebody asked me to coach a travel team. And I basically said, okay, cool. I'm gonna set up this itinerary just like our JC itinerary. And it worked. The kids were overwhelmed, but I kind of just took that and ran with it, and I had some success. And
If you don't mind me asking, what age level was that you coached?
God, I think that was 11U, my first
Yeah.
team. It was either 10U or 11U.
Coaching an 11U team as a junior college team, they must have been
Yeah.
like, what?
Oh, dude, some of the parents were. I think I dropped my first F-bomb, and some of the parents were like, "Whoa, what do we got here?" And I was like, "Oh." Now, many F-bombs later, it's become like just who I am. People know that. I don't mean to say it, but I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it was tough. I mean, it was good for the kids. It was good for me. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to babysit. That's for sure. So, 13 years later, here I am. So,
And now you have like 10U all the way up through high school teams, right?
we did, and then we downsized. So it just got to be, and I haven't listened to what you guys have said, but I can only imagine. It just got to be too much.
Yeah.
We had high school last year, and we had 8th grade, we had 11U, 10U, 9U, and then this year I just said, you know what, we're gonna stick with 10U and 11U because it's easier to mold them into, or I should say, prepare them for the high school level than an 8th grader. The 8th grade team was a challenge because a lot of them haven't been coached properly. And so trying to pack 3 years of baseball fundamentals into one season was difficult. Not to say that that I wasn't up for the challenge. It's a lot of work,
Yeah.
It's a lot of work. And if you don't have the right coaches in place to instill those, just some basic fundamentals, and it's, in my eyes, it's not worth it. Some parents are like, "Oh, this is great. They're playing." Other parents are like, "Oh, we wanted more." So I'm trying to eliminate all the voices. And so that's why I'm just sticking with 2 teams now.
Well, you bring up a really interesting point there because parents, they like the games. They want the games to be scheduled. They're like, when are we going to play again? When's our next tournament? I'm coaching Jack's 12U team. Jack's 11U eligible, but he plays 12U because that's his grade and he wants to be with his buddies.
Right.
So I was coaching that team this year, and man, I think sometimes you can probably speak to this. It really gets lost how important the practices are, and that maybe that the practices are more important than trying to cram 6 games into a Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot from our point of view, us three, like there's a ton of value in practice. I think that's where everything is. Like I tell the kids, I'm like, hey, it's done. I'm not going to get mad at you. I'm not going to sit there and belittle you in a game. I've prepared you for this, and mistakes are going to happen. I don't care. But parents think that I think it's kind of that mentality of like it's on the job training with a lot of families, whatever they do, blue collar and whatever their jobs are. I think that they're comparing that. Okay, I did on the job training. We need to be playing games.
Yeah.
And
I didn't think about that. Yeah. The parents learn, they went to they became a whatever electrician because they were an apprentice and they learned on the job. And so they think now my son will be a better outfielder if we play 6 games in a weekend and he plays outfield for 9 innings or 6 innings,
100%. It's just the mentality of the masses that, for 10 years ago, I was like on a mission to lead a charge to change it. And, I was going uphill in sand. It just wasn't working. So you kind of have to take each team and just tell them and prove that, okay, here's the practices. This is why we're doing this. And then the games come and they go out there and play and you're like, oh, sweet. I had 2 great games versus 6. And the kids are dragging ass by game 3. You know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
We've all been there where there's 2 games on Saturday, and to get to the ship, it's 3 games. Dude, I've never played that much baseball in a weekend. I mean, I've had a doubleheader and a single in the minors, and that is exhausting. And I sat in the bullpen, and I was toast. I didn't even play.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids, I don't care. Well, they got a lot of energy. No, they don't, man. They're exhausted. So I think a solid 2-hour practice 2-3 times a week is super, super, super beneficial. And I think that has to rank above going to 15 tournaments and parents maxing out credit cards in a season or a year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the travel, the hotels, the everything else that goes into it. But I feel like most parents want that they want, like Rob said, that experience of going to the game and watching my kid get a double and the team moved on to the championship bracket and at the end we get a t-shirt and we were, everyone takes a picture with their fake rings.
Yep.
And they love that. But,
Oh,
getting to that point, what it takes to get there. Like you said, my son last year played and the travel team he plays on is good. It's almost it's Little League Plus. It's the best of the kids in the town with so it's great, but the coaches are dads. And so last year he played on a perfect game team, and in a 2-hour practice, he's like, Dad, I did more than what I did in the entire summer leading up to that. Like, so, if a well-run 2-hour practice, you can accomplish. I couldn't even believe what these guys did. I mean, there wasn't an aspect of baseball that these two high school coaches didn't put these kids through in 2 hours. And they learn so much. You do that twice a week, you'll be killers on the weekend.
Right.
Oh, it's insane. I mean, kids come back after a practice and they're like, "Holy cow!" I'm like, there's so much that can be accomplished in a well-run 2-hour practice. I mean, it takes some time to develop an itinerary, and it's not easy because it's not easy to put together an itinerary because not everybody has the knowledge to do that. But it's not easy, the discipline as a coach to stay on track. That's the tough part as well, right?
Mhm.
Because you have 2 out of 12 kids that are your elites. They can pretty much do everything. They're athletes at the time. And you're going to lose those kids because the parents are like, they need to play on a better team. Oh, no, they still need the reps. They still need to do what everyone else is doing. And then you have 6 kids that are every practice, they get a little better. 2 guys, 3 struggle, 1 is still in the middle. And then you have your other 4 that just like you feel like you're taking a ton of time to talk to them. And the problem is that those 4 end up receiving too much.
Yeah.
And you got to keep it moving because those kids are the ones that they don't want to be called out. They want the practice to go smooth. They're actually going to get better if you stay on your 7-minute stations, your 6.5-minute stations, and constantly rotate and throw a ton at them. Because listen, like we say in training, it's like, listen, man, you're not going to remember everything I said. I'm not ignorant to that. I don't expect you to walk out of here a different player throwing 100 miles an hour. It's not going to happen. But if you constantly throw the little details and those little keywords and those trigger words and those mental cues at them over the course of a month, dude, it's going to stick.
Yeah.
It becomes that aha moment. And that's all I go for. I'm like, I'm chasing aha moments for the kids. That's what I want. And back and he goes, dude, I got it. I got it last week. I'm like, perfect. That's all we want. That's what we need. Like everyone's going to work at their own pace and learn at their own pace. And that's the discipline of a coach is like, you got to understand that, man. You got to be good to know that not everyone is going to be at the same speed as the top 2 kids. And if you can understand that, then everyone will develop better, in my mind. That's my theory.
Casey,
So that's kind of my.
Do you find that like the 10, 11s, maybe even the 12-year-olds, they're more willing to learn, more willing to adjust, and about the time you get to junior high, it's like even a guy like you who has professional experience, international experience, they're like kind of at age 13, 14, it's easier for them to shrug off what you're saying because they just want to do it their way?
100%, because younger kids still don't know. They're still playing 10, 11, 12. They're still playing for fun. Lost, right? It's teaching them the game, yet still keeping it fun for them because statistics show that when kids get out of Little League, I think this statistic came out like 11 years ago. It may have flexed one way or the other, I'm not sure, but it was 15% of kids from Little League go on to play high school baseball. And that's only 1 year. That's not varsity. That's freshman or JV. So 15%. Right. So of that percentage, how many kids, make it 4 years? Dude, it's less than 5%. So keeping it fun for the kids, because they're going to learn at that age and they're very, very impressionable. And that's the key, right? Is giving them the right tools, giving them the right stuff to work on and have fun and do it. When they get to 7th and 8th grade, a lot of these guys that I get in for the first time, they've had coaches that it's 2-hour practice. We're going to take BP. One guy hits, one guy's behind. We're going to shag. We're going to take a boatload of ground balls and play catch.
Yeah.
Right. And there's just this, like, I'm not blaming, like I tip my cap to every single dad that steps up and coaches, whether they know it or not, because there's 11 other parents that didn't step up for one reason or another. So it's not belittling the coaches. It's just, I think there's a huge market, and that's what I'm working towards right now, there's a huge market for coaches. The ABCA is great, but for the youth coaches for lack of a better term, instruction in layman's terms, is now you'll attract and keep kids from 10 to 14. You know,
Mm-hmm.
that's my thing. I mean, 10s, 11s, and 12s are fun. They're a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're a bunch of kids running around with their heads cut off, dude. Chickens with their heads cut off, and you just got to corral them and just have fun with them, dude. You know, I love it. It's a good time. You bust their balls. You allow them to kind of like, man, let's talk some smack. Like get on their level, and there's a respect, and they're on your level. You're there back and forth, and you can get that. You can get that chemistry with the kids, dude. It's freaking easy, man. You know, you can develop freaking athletes,
Yeah.
baseball players that are athletes, you know, and that's what I want. The whole thing, like, hey, we develop champions, we do this. Like, I'll put it every now and then, you know,
Mhm.
hashtag we hang banners here at the cage and everything. It's great, but I mean, I have, you know, there's 35 banners hung up, and I've worked with 10,000 kids. And if you look at the odds of success based off of kids going to college, there's nobody across the nation that could say, well, based off of percentages, I'm doing pretty good because we're at
Yeah.
like 1%.
Yeah.
You know, you know, unfortunately, that's what you're going for is the 1%. That's huge, you know, in the grand scheme of things.
For
So,
those one percenters, those kids who maybe came to you at 13, 14, or even when they were in high school and decided they were going to work side of their program, they were going to get extra lessons, extra work in. I know you have Toby Vaughn there, who's Andrew Vaughn's dad, first baseman, outfielder for the White Sox. He coaches there. Dan Leslie, who was your high school baseball coach, who coached against me when I was in high school. He just left, but when we were up there in Santa Rosa during COVID, he was working with Jack. And so when you have coaches like that who have 30 years experience and can talk to an 8-year-old or an 18-year-old, that's a great resource to have, you know, beyond yourself or your dad, Larry, who, you know, is a coach as well. So when those kids who eventually end up making it come in, is it just one of those things where they're always excited to be at the lesson? They're always excited to do an extra hour with you, or sometimes are they just grinding it out because they know it's the process, but it's going to get them where they want to go eventually?
I mean, I think it's both, man. You know, kids have fun. You got to make it. You want the kids to come. Like I have kids come in, and I look at them like, dude, you don't want to be here, and they hesitate, right?
Yeah.
So I'm like, that's fine, dude. You don't have to be here. Like you're not hurting my feelings. You know, I have other kids that want to come, and I'll say this every now and again because I have a handful of kids that it's almost like they're forced to do it, and I go,
Yes.
dude, I can go inside and hang out with my kids, but instead I'm here with you. Kind of throw it back on them. It's not malicious, but it's like, hey, dude,
Yeah.
let's work. And then you kind of get them pumped up. But I mean, I would say 95% of the kids that come in, they're ready to go. Like they want to, like, what's next? What am I going to learn today? Like, and there's a lot of things. There's a ton of homework that I give the kids in sense of like, parents will ask like, okay, what kind of homework? What drills should we do? I'm like, everything we just did in that 45 minutes or 75 minutes, home. You go home tonight and do it. And a lot of kids are excited to come in and show their progress. Like that's the biggest thing is progress, progress. What have I done? You know,
Yeah.
and then the kid out, hey man, you haven't done anything, have you? And they look at you and hesitate. If a kid hesitates, dude, game over, bro. You can't lie to me now, dude. I know you haven't done anything. Just admit it. It's better to admit, yeah, you're right. I'm like, okay, let's work today. I'm like, but don't think this 45 minutes is going to change your baseball career. Like it's going to take 45 of these. And I'm not saying with me, but you got to do a lot on your own if you want to make it. And this is the thing. And now I'm going to go off on a tangent, but this is the tough part about baseball is that social media has done a great job of promoting sports unintentionally, and it's done a terrible job of being unrealistic sports. You know what I mean? So you have all these kids that see players and see the highlight reels and see the great that they're doing, but the behind the scenes and the work ethic that's put into it, the process is sometimes missed. Everyone is expecting great. And I'm like, dude, everyone's expecting scholarships. And it's tough. Scholarships just don't happen. But that's the effect of social media, unfortunately. It's good and bad, you know? And you just kind of have to like the other day, I asked the kid, I'm like, hey, do you watch baseball? And he
Oh.
goes, no, not really. Like, what? How do you not watch baseball? And he's like, dude, it's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. I go, do you watch highlights? And he goes, sometimes. I'm like, okay, do me a favor, dude. Give me 10 minutes a day and just go to YouTube or whatever it is and just watch highlights. Just watch baseball highlights, because basically teaching kids to have some ability. But I'm like, dude, I learned watching Giants and A's.
Yes.
It's like now, like I can watch every college baseball game, every college softball game, and every minor league game with this system I have. Back in the day, I had 2 games to watch, and if it was on TV, the
Yeah.
Giants and A's, that was it. We didn't see the Yankees, the Dodgers, you know what I mean? We didn't see across the country until on ESPN, like Sunday Night Baseball came, or Thursday,
Yep.
whatever it was. So I'm like, I learned a ton from just watching games, and I loved it. So there was a combination there, but I bet you 75% of the kids that come in don't even watch baseball.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask you, how many parents do you feel like, because you were saying you like working with the younger kids, but I feel like at that age, you still have parents that are like, I would like to pay X amount of dollars to go to be part of your team, and I would like you to teach my son how to fall in love with baseball and play it well. Where it's like,
Dude,
here's the money,
yeah.
and now where is the, like, they might still love it, but they are now vicariously pushing their love onto their kid. You were saying before, like, do you even want to be here? With the travel and the
it's
that I think that is what's gone on. Like when I grew up, it was one travel team from the best kids in the and if you didn't want to play on it, well then they just cut you, and that was, you didn't play on it. Like there was no like, do you want to be here or whatever. It's like, so now with the ability to be like, okay, well I have to, I'm running a business, I do need to have a team and field a team. How much of that do you like, I'm just going to deal with this versus I'm not putting up with it?
So funny, man. I say it all the time to parents, because they'll come in and be like, hey, when are tryouts, this and that, and how is it, and yada yada. I'm like, personally, I don't like travel baseball. I do it because now my son, it was part of the business. It was a good way to bring kids in, but I don't trust a whole lot of people when it comes to baseball. And so you go to these tournaments and the parents love it. Here, it's my kid to fall in love with the game. I'm like, can't do that.
Yeah.
Like that, that's not what I do. I'm trying to teach the kid to enjoy our time here. He can work harder tomorrow, and then he enjoys the game because of the work that he did. I'm a second. I'm not going to say that's ignorant. Not ignorant. I'm like pumping myself up. But a lot of parents expect a whole lot from instructors, not just me. All the instructors here and all the instructors across the nation. With the private sector, there's a higher expectation. A lot of parents are like, okay, if he works hard, will he make this team? And if he makes this team, what position is he going to play? And if he plays that position, by the time he gets here, is he putting himself in a situation or a position to be seen by scouts? And I'm like, well, they're recruiters, they're not scouts. Your kid is not ever going to be seen by a scout with this attitude. Scouts are professional. A recruiter there's a difference, and parents don't know the difference, right? It's like saying, called me up and struck 3, and I'm like, well, he's an umpire, he's not a ref. When you hear that, you're kind of like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. But they're also the ones that'll be the first one there to help out, and they want to go to the tournaments, which that's the tough part. You know what I mean? Because you got to teach the parents also. Because I've sat in the stands and I'll hear things that parents say, and I'm like, no, that's not true. That's not it. No, that's not it. And a lot of the moms just love to jump on the argue bandwagon. I'm like, dude, it's a tough sport to understand. Like, don't just argue to argue. If you want to learn too, we can double up. We do a 2-for-1 lesson, and I'll teach the parents, which I have done before, where the parents come in also and pay, which is actually pretty cool.
I mean, I was saying, I made a joke about it, but like they have all these game changers and high casts and all these cameras now facing the field. I want cameras facing the stands so that parents can
100%.
watch their behavior and during the weekend and go, here are your highlights, Janice. When you talk to the umpire for the 3rd time, complaining about only your kid's call, you know what I'm saying? Like, here's what you did, Henry. You mumbled every time your kid pitched, and other kids made, errors. And here's your highlight reel. So here's your perfect game score, 0. You did none of the attributes of being a good parent and/or spectator well this weekend. That's what it should be.
That would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
My daughter plays travel softball. It's fun. My wife is like, where are we gonna sit? I'm like, I'm behind the left field fence. She's like, You want to sit away from everybody? She's like, okay, I get it. Okay. So by the the 9th tournament we went to, which I got to admit, they were pretty fun, you know. The 9th tournament, there was 2 pop-up tents and I think 4 or 5 families sitting out there with us, which was great. I sit out, be at peace, and say what I want.
Yeah.
So then I technically had to kind of watch my words a little bit when I was out there. But dude, I will go and get up and walk around. And you know, these complexes, there's 4 fields, 6 fields, and I'll just cruise around and just people watch, dude.
That's
and
what I do.
It's a close second to the highlight of my weekend. Watching parents go absolutely bonkers over stuff that is like, no, that's not it.
Yep.
But having a camera, reversing it, like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm actually gonna do that this year. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna go set up, because there's at any given time there's 38 freaking GoPros on a fence. Right?
Yeah, we were saying that. Yeah. You don't know who's being it's like God forbid you're in the witness protection program and you're a great baseball player. You're going to be in big trouble,
right?
because everyone's being filmed at all times.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm gonna do that and just set the camera up and if I reverse the camera, you know. So I think it's a great idea, because that's an uphill battle. Also trying to get parents to, you know, to understand. But if they saw themselves, I'm sure that there would be a little bit of like, holy cow, that's me. Like, yeah, that's you eating your 5th plate of nachos also today, you know? So,
Yeah. You the team in
but I
nacho
think,
eating. So
that's your stat, dude.
yeah,
You
that's
are
yeah. Yeah. 0 times correct on the field, but leads the team in nachos. Yeah, I know. That's what I guess when you said earlier, I understand working with the younger kids and molding them and getting them to be like, I'm doing a favor for either myself or another coach down the road by turning them into better ball players and better, you know, kids. But I that's where the level, I feel like, with just the last couple of years of my life of being around parents, it's like these are the worst. This is the time, like when you at that age, I feel like parents still look like my kid can be Derek Jeter.
The sky's
if
the
I
limit.
give this
Yeah,
guy
yeah.
enough money, will teach my kid how to love the game and turn him into Derek Jeter.
Right.
So I feel like at 14, 15, you're like, look, dude, if you don't know, like, my kid's obviously doesn't like it, and or he's not going to be Derek Jeter. You have a little more self-awareness as a parent. But
Right.
10, 11, even 9, you're like, anything's possible.
Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Sky is the limit.
Yeah, sky is the limit, and it's tough, dude. When I first did this 13 years ago, when I first started, it was very by the book, because this is a job that, you know, has just been created over the past 20 years, you know. So I was trying to be a little more politically correct in how I talk to parents, and I wanted to make the parents happy. I wanted to make everybody happy, like, hey, this is how it's going to be, and I tried to live by that, and that becomes really difficult. So the past 5 years, it's been a really big transition into like, dude, I'm gonna tell you exactly how I feel and how I see it. And people don't like that, right? It's the saying, dude, if you don't want to hear the answer, don't ask the question. You know what I mean? And so with the younger kids, that yeah, dude, he can be good at this level. We don't know. Like, I get kids that come in and are terrible, dude, terrible. And then after some practice, because you can see that these kids want to work hard, I'm like, all right, dude, I'll dig in if you're willing to dig in, you know. But this is expensive babysitting, and I try to really eliminate that, so I don't have to have, like, dude, come on. But kids that dig in, you're like, all right, dude, he's making progress. You know, at 13 and 14, it's a pivotal time because puberty kicks in. Some kids are well ahead of others. When you're in high school, now you're like, there's recruiters, advisors, and graders do a job of kind of how they see it. Do they miss kids? 100%. Kids fall through the crap. Oh, look at this kid. He said he will never play, and look at him now. Like, you always hear the story, but like, dude, based off of the statistics and every kid that I've seen, you fit the mold of probably not going on. And you hit a growth spurt, and all of a sudden you're legit. Cool.
Yep.
I'm happy for you. But that was the grade then, you know, and you got to accept that. And if it's motivation, you hear it all the time. But like you said, sky's the limit for 9 years old. Oh, dude, he hit 2 home runs last year. Like, I get this a lot. The kids want to try out, and the parents email me, and they're like, hey, you know, he batted second. He batted 783 in his all-star team last year. He was the only kid to not give up a hit on the mound. I'm like, dude, this is God's gift right here. This is him, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, dude, that was then, dude. You were the coach, and there was 4 games that you guys played in all-stars because you were limited. So I mean, I don't,
Yeah.
and that,
Yeah.
Those are the values that a lot of parents put on their kids. Like, oh, dude, look what he did. Dude, if I was giving contracts and paying your kids, yeah, he probably would make some money. But that's not the way the world works at 9 to
Right.
11. Although there are kids being flown around the country to play on certain teams, to play on big tournaments at these younger levels, that just blows me away, dude. That
Oh,
parents,
guns
Yeah.
for hire, huh?
Yeah.
it is, dude.
Oh yeah,
It's
yeah. No, on the East Coast, that's where I live. I don't, there's like 4 or 5 of those places. They're compounds: Lasorda Legacies, Diamond Nations, the Ripkins, and you go to a tournament there, and you'll eventually see a kid. You're like, oh, that kid doesn't play on that team, but he does that weekend because they needed someone to come down and play with them, and why not go? And again, I don't know how that parent, you're like, you want exposure for your kid, obviously you want your child to be available to be seen by as many people as possible, but at the detriment to them, that's got to be maybe I don't know if it's different for a pitcher or a fielding player. Like, I wouldn't want to wear my son's arm out, but if he wanted to go play first base for a different team or whatever, why not? But I guess I didn't realize that there are actually guys out there that are just like, yeah, they probably aren't even on a team. They just will go wherever they're needed for that weekend.
I think if at first, it's probably about 9 years ago when I first saw it. Right, you can look up on, like you mentioned before, Game Changer, and you can look up kids' names and see all the teams he plays for. At the time I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. Kid's gonna blow his arm out, yada yada. But over the years, and me gathering more information and doing what I do, don't think it's a terrible thing if a kid's playing on 4 teams and playing every weekend, as long as they are up with their workouts, their routines, their condition care, their body care, their mobility weekend versus 5 teams and rotating. What's the difference?
Yeah.
Right. The thing is, where college recruiting is a totally different ball game from when we were in school, man. You didn't get recruited out of high school. I mean, you had to be notch to go anywhere out of high school. And now kids are getting recruited out of high school. Right. It's happening all over the nation constantly. Scholarships are being handed out. Yeah, it's still 11.7 scholarships in baseball, the same as it was when I was at Long Beach 24 years ago, 25 years ago. It's the same amount of scholarships.
I was shocked by that. I just learned that this weekend.
Yeah.
We went to a UCLA game. There was 40 kids on each team. I'm like, man, where are they getting with 40 scholarships? And Rob's like, no, there's 11.
So there's a kid that we work with. He's signed University of Oregon, right? He got a little bit of scholarship. So with the whole NLI thing, scholarship money. So the schools, and I don't want to misquote this. So if somebody hears this, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but every school has different scholarship funds. So you have your 11.7, which is allocated for baseball, Division I baseball, right? Has some funds for all Pac-12. A lot of these schools have this to where they have scholarship money through different avenues.
Mm-hmm.
And so you can get scholarships through those avenues based off of, the school size and whatnot. So he was telling me there's scholarship money out there to help offset for those 40 kids on the roster. When I was there, it was financial aid, scholarship, but financial aid. My parents sold their business the 2 years before that, and they didn't really work. So our income for the year, my parents' income was extremely low. Almost, we were fine because we sold a business. So I had a lot of financial aid, and my financial aid was so high that it actually exceeded 100% of what would be a combo scholarship. So I had to take my book scholarship away from me and give it to somebody else because I exceeded a limit. So I know I'm kind of getting off right now, but getting back to my point was that parents are seeking that. College recruiting is starting in 8th grade. I mean, I've talked to coaches that are like, no, we'll look at kids in 8th grade, and then we'll look at our freshmen, going into their freshman year that summer, and it's a loose, okay, we're going to offer you, verbal commitment. The minimum that they can offer is 20%. Offer up to 100%, right? A lot of kids will get that 20% offer and then go, okay, cool, and they blast it out on Twitter, on Instagram, everything. Hey, I'm excited to my commitment to further education and my athletic, baseball, whatever it is, to University of Charleston. You know what I mean? Thank you to my coaches, God, family, blah, blah, blah,
Yep.
all that, the generic thank you, right? But things change. So it's just, the competition is so freaking tough that parents are like, okay, well, if we can get him at 12 and 13 to go play for these teams, he's going to get exposed, and colleges here and there are going to see him and remember him. I mean, the kid's 5'1", 88 pounds. You know what I mean? Yeah, he's a pretty good hitter, but dude, there's so much room for development and
Mm-hmm.
for non-development over the 4 years that you have. If deep pockets and your kid wants to do it, and you have the time and the effort to put it, by all means, go ahead, dude. That's fine. I'm not going to do that, and I don't push that on my kids personally, my two kids, but I don't push that on my team either. Unless a parent asks, then I'll give them my feedback, which they want to go broke before you have to freaking get to college.
Hey, Kasey, you don't take your teams, like, you don't go to, Jupiter, Florida or anything like you stay pretty close to. I know you've done Reno or Lake Tahoe. I actually ran into one of your teams in, I think, Irvine or somewhere in Orange County a couple of years back. Yeah. But you're not flying all over the country. Even with when you had high school guys, you weren't going all over the country.
It's just we did it a couple years in a row. And I went to Arizona and Irvine. And we basically did it just to see, like, hey, all these kids, like, I want to go on. The very first practice is, how many want to play college baseball? Them raise their hand, and it's half staff, like, okay, yeah, I want to play, of course, but I'm probably going to go to the JC. And it's more of like, hey, I want to take these kids to get exposed. Like, this is the exposure you want to see. It's exposing them to other teams. And we played in the USA tournament a couple years ago, and it's wood bat, and it's pretty competitive. I mean, there's 64 teams in our age bracket, and it was more of like, okay, if you really want to do this and go around and play, then we can continue to do this. Not one parent after that summer wanted to do it again the next year. And the number one reason was because it was just too expensive. Get it? And I go, that's totally fine. Whatever your reasoning for not wanting to do this, but deep down they were like, dude, we got work to do if we're going to compete with these teams.
Yep.
No one wants to get exposed. That's real hard for the kids, and it's hard for the parents when they're like, oh, he came up against 92 for the first time, and that is not what he's ready for.
Yeah, it's exposure versus exposed.
Yep.
Right, exactly. That's it. That's a great, I'm putting that on a shirt. Exposure versus exposed.
Sorry, it's trademarked. Mark, trademark that for me while we're in the rest of the podcast. Thanks. It's everybody wants their shot. Like, they want to go there, but they just want to say they were on the team. On the national team that won the thing, the 64-man tournament wood bat.
Right. It's good, but it's you got to, like I said, you got to be ready for the answer if you're going to ask the question. You got to be ready to be somewhat disappointed. Or a like I have a poster in the gym, Mike Tyson, and it says everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face.
I got the same one.
Yeah, it's the best, dude. And people see that and they're like, God, that's so true. I'm like, oh, I take it you've been punched a couple times.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Dude, thank you so much. I really appreciate your.
Yeah, this is rad, Case. Thank you.
I have more questions. Like, what age do we start our kids on steroids?
Yeah,
I got a whole list of questions.
We had an argument about creatine with a couple of moms over the weekend.
My older son, who's 15, wants to start creatine. It's a whole thing. It's wild, dude. So we will have questions for years coming.
No, it's crazy, dude. I'm gonna start my kid on that 81. Oh yeah, dude. Like I can do this forever, man. I love it, dude. So I appreciate you guys, man.
No, we appreciate all your time.
Hopefully this goes well, and we'll have you back.
Yeah,
we want to see the footage of you taking the stands.
Yeah, let us know how that works out.
Absolutely, dude. I mean, it could cause some fights later on, but that'll be even better, dude.
That's all right. They'll get exposed.
Right on, guys.
All right,
thanks,
brother.
Case.
Be well.
We'll talk soon, man.
I appreciate it. Talk to you. Cheers.
I forgot to ask him if he's going to Cooperstown.
Sure.
12-year-old. I didn't know, like,
his 12s. I'll ask
if they send their 12s. I didn't know if that's like a big thing everywhere. I know on the East Coast, it's like Cooperstown's the jam. At 12, you're either going to go to like Port, and your team's the all-star team that's going to represent.
Yeah.
Or most of them go to the Cooperstown, and that's where.
Well, that's the other thing.
But it's far for you guys, like he was saying.
Yeah, and that's the other thing we'll have to explore down the line too, is the Little League versus the travel, and what's your commitment to what team. Because if your travel team wants to go to Cooperstown and they land they get the early July draw, and you're a Little League that might win your district. Like last year, we made it to the district finals, and we lost to in the district finals at the kind of award ceremony. They're like, to their guy who was basically their MVP. They're like, we're going to miss you next week. And I was like, where's that kid going to be? Travel team drew an early Cooperstown week. So he was going to miss the sectional tournament to go to Cooperstown. I get it. Those are tough decisions that kids and parents and families have to make. And if you've committed thousands of dollars and made plane reservations and booked hotels
and all that stuff,
you're not going to stay, to play in a tournament 35 minutes away and lose thousands of dollars. So it's a tough decision. And so I don't know if they'll go there, but Kasey obviously, knows his stuff. He's been around the game for a long time. He's a baseball lifer. And so it's great to hear his thoughts on, kind of what we talk about is like, do you love the game? Do you want to practice? Do you just want the sweat? So, I think baseball values align pretty closely with his.
Like I said, I'm a people watcher. So I'll sit there like an airport at these things like he does. I walk around, I look at different parents and I make judgments about people in my mind, which is, good and bad. But I also do it based on the that I have in my head. And so the more I can get informationally, like, this is what's going on. This is true. This is not true.
Right.
Then I can judge these people even harder.
Yeah.
And that's fun for me.
And really lean into it. You go, well, Kasey told me.
Yeah. So thanks for coming on the show. And that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to have some guests on to kind of break down what we're missing as far as looking at things with a full perspective, I guess.
Right.
Trying to be the best version of parents / coaches / I don't know, mentors, whatever I'm not a mentor, but
I think the truth is that we're unlike other podcasts and that we'll tell you, we have some information, we have some knowledge for sure, but we're not purporting ourselves to be experts.
Yeah.
We will have guys who've been around it a lot more than we have, who have coached older kids, who've been through the process, who maybe are parents of older kids, and just get their perspective on where this whole thing is heading. And if we're going to spend the next 7 years possibly through high school and then, going to the next level, what can we expect? How should we prepare our kids? That's what we want
ourselves.
Oh gosh.
Because the kids pretty much, if you can course correct them, they'll stay. But if you're a monster, we got to do better for ourselves. I know. So thank you guys. Our wives. By the way, we have a new email. So we're gonna let you know. It's hold on. I know this. It is where's your cleats pod at gmail.com.
Where are your cleats pod at gmail.com?
Damn it. Is it not R? Not the letter R. R-A-R-E.
A-R-E, yeah.
Where are your cleats pod at gmail.com?
And we're on Instagram. Same handle.
Thing, yes. We don't have a logo yet, but we're coming. So, but just write us questions, write us opinions, write us your thoughts. Let us know where you stand as far as what you want to hear about.
Topics for the show.
So let us know, and we'll go through them. Questions. We'll do a question and answer at the end of it. Some episodes. So that's the stuff that we're going to try to get back and forth with the fans to make sure that your questions are heard. And whoever we have on the show, we'll let you know ahead of time. So if you have questions specifically for that person, you can get those in. So thank you guys very much for watching, listening. Rate, subscribe. Let us know what we're doing, and let other people know how much fun this is, especially parents that you're like, I'm sitting at the game. Games are. If you got double headers, you're talking about 5-6 hours.
Especially if you have a break. Oh,
how much talk you got to get done in 5 or 6 hours? At some point, you're going to be like, new podcast I listen to.
Yeah.
It's about baseball. Maybe you should listen to it. Maybe you don't even like it. Maybe you don't like us, but you hate that person. Suggest it to them.
Torture them.
They won't. Maybe they'll hate watch us too. So that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Spread the word. You're around. We're getting into all the baseball games and seasons. So lots of time on your hands to while you're sitting at you got to drop your kid off an hour before these travel games. Car on YouTube. Watch the show.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself mentally. Go. Oh, here's what I have to do. Here's what I can't do. I'll sit out there. You can get some suggestions for what you're about to get into. So.
And you hear we talk about a parent on the show from one of our teams or something. You go, that's Sharon. Sharon does that.
Yep.
Share it with Sharon. Share it with a friend.
Yep. Don't be Sharon. All right. Thank you guys.